Hey guys and girls, welcome back to 396 Guitars, the second installment of the Epiphone Flying V. We've made some progress and we're going to move forward. I'm going to try to get it all done in this second video. Let's get to work. I'll show you where we're at. So I'm getting ready to work on the frets and oil the board, to condition the board, because it just needs it, and the frets are really green. I have already removed the tuning machines because there's just, it seems like there's something sticky on the headstock, just from age. It needs to be cleaned properly, and then we're going to kind of wipe these down, clean all the gook off of them, which in most cases is compound from when they buffed it out. Many of you have seen this process. We go to work on the frets, and the first step is to get the green off. I use a fine Scotch-Brite pad. Call it what you want. It's just a little piece of, you guys have seen this before. It's ultra fine. And all it does is remove the really heavy stuff off the top and around the crown of the fret. I'm not going to show this entire process, obviously, because I never do, and it just takes too much time. I have had many comments asking about, well, can you show just this? Yeah, there's a million ways to do it. You can see the difference already in these 4 frets compared to the dull ones right next to it over here. You can see that they're shiny. Am I going to take the pickup covers and all that stuff? No, this stuff was relicked right from the factory. That's what they want it to look like. But relicked on that and green gooey goop on your frets, no good. So stand by while I get this process done. I'll show you. You saw me sanding it, and then the next step is we use a polish, and we polish them really well until we don't have any more black coming off. I'll show you the last few frets when we get to that point. Stand by. So you do the the Scotch-Brite. It's ultra fine. You get that all the way through. Do all the frets like that, and then you get after it with some polish. And there's only one way to do this, and that's a little bit of elbow grease. You apply the fret polish, get it on there. Don't be afraid. It won't hurt anything. It's not going to cause any problems. And then you go at it, and that's what you should be getting off of there. You do each fret like that, and you just work it. I did them all. I'm down at the end. And when you get done, it should pretty much have taken care of 90% of what's on there. Can you go farther? Yes, I say it all the time. Yes, you can go a lot farther. Sometimes I'll tape the entire board off and get after it with a Dremel tool and a polish wheel. This one didn't need it. It wasn't that bad, but it was pretty green. Those frets were not love and life. That's what came off the frets. And that's only the stuff that the polish pulled off, because we used a Scotch-Brite on it to take the big stuff off the top and around the crown first. So yeah, I've done that many times with you guys. You understand it. The next step is to oil the board. You get off as much as anything you can see of the white polish. Oh, by the way, yeah, if you haven't seen, that's the polish I use. Okay. Linseed oil. You can, I don't know. The internet is full of the best oil for this and that. Yeah, use linseed oil. Trust me when I tell you. Just a little bit, and start working it in. If you got teak or dark wood, this is what you want to use. And it is awesome on fretboards, especially with, you know, something with a rosewood board like this. And by the way, this cleans and takes off even more goop that was on the frets that maybe the polishing and the cleaning didn't get before. And it feeds the wood, right? I mean, you can see the difference right away. I say it a million times. In fact, sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't, but lately every guitar that came in the shop needed this. And I don't like to let a guitar go unless you're doing that. And you can see by applying the oil, some more tarnish is coming off, right? It's okay to put some on there. It isn't going to hurt anything. It's going to help. It is going to help. You will thank me later. It's okay. Just another tip from your Uncle Blackjack. Now, I always pause here because you really do want to let it sit on there and let the oil do its thing. You follow? Let the oil sit on there 10, 15, 20 minutes. You know, don't leave it overnight. That's going too far. Half an hour at the most. So we're going to let that soak and then we'll be right back. So the last step is to take the oil off of the board, and you can kind of see I did one pass taking it off and we're still pulling tarnish, right? That's what you want to see. Start down here and work that way. The second pass, start at the top and work down. And this time, really pay attention that you're working both sides of the fret and the board. You don't want to leave any of that oil on there. It soaked up, and it was about 25 minutes that we paused, give or take. And you want the board is soaked up what it's going to use. Yeah, see, still a little bit coming off. Tarnish, dirt, call it what you want. And just kind of roll on both sides of the fret as you're working the wood to remove excess oil. And then the last step is get a clean part of the cloth and do just the frets. And this is going to buff them up. And yeah, it matters. If you're getting a lot of tarnish, that's not a lot, then you got to do that whole process all over again. Can't remember the last time I had to do it. See, it gets less and less. Same thing, use a clean part of the cloth as you go along. You don't want to buff tarnish back onto a clean fret, a fret you're trying to clean. Whatever you're taking off, let it stay off. That's all that's coming off. See, very little. Yep. And when you get done, you all saw what that looked like. You can't tell me that those frets don't look 1,000 times better. And the board. Shine. Gleaming. Oh, and by the way, I took the time to clean the headstock. That's why I take... This headstock was dirty and there was goop and stuff on there that I wasn't going to be able to clean off properly without taking the machines off of the headstock. Time to put them back on. I'm not going to show the entire process, but you clean them up as much as you can. This stuff is you know, it's kind of vintaged. You know, it's already relict. Don't care for the gold stuff. It never did anything for me. But the most important thing when you're putting them back together is take any excess compound, wax, whatever, off of the machines and blow them out where the threads are. And each one of these little bushing nuts, put a little dollop of oil on there, grease. I put tune-it lube. And you don't need a lot, just a little tiny, tiny, tiny bit of that stuff. It'll act as an anti-seize if you ever have to take them apart again. So stand by while I put these in. I'll show you one. You put them in kind of like so. Keep, you know, on a 3+3 like this, a Gibson, typical Gibson style. Keep them on each side, each respective side. The washers only go one way. Don't put them on backwards, and try not to get the lube on your finger. Put that in and just get it started. You don't have to move the lube around the threads. It'll work its way around there. All right. Once that is on there, put your screw in. And that's why you only do them finger tight. Everything should be finger tight right now. Once you get it started, the nut bushing on the other side, put your screw in and hold it secure. And this you can snug right up. Remember, you're not building a Harley Davidson. You don't have to torque it. All it's got to do is get to where it stops and then just snug it slightly. All right, it's only wood. All right, stand by. So, all of the headstock is back together. It's time consuming, and a lot of guys will say, oh God, I just don't want to pull those machines. Yeah, well, if you really want to clean it right, and this is kind of a, you know, a mini restoration because it needed more than what, you know, the average guitar. Restring it and do a setup. So anyway, that's where we're at now. Now to kind of go over what we've done. In the first video, we fixed that. It was only working in 2 positions, not the bottom. We took it apart, cleaned it, and we actually filed the connections. And then usually that's the problem. But if I had taken that apart and it looked nasty, I would have soldered a new one in. It might need it again. I don't know. I mean, we'll find out. Loose output jack, that's common. Cleaned everything, tightened all the electronics, all 3 pots. Now, I have taken the time off camera between putting the machines in and putting the strings through. I cleaned up the guitar. I wiped everything down because now's the time to do it. I cleaned the bridge and saddle assembly as much as, you know, possible. Look, a floor restoration, yeah, I would have taken every single one of these little things apart and polished them and cleaned them, but we're making this guitar back to as new as possible with the relicking that it has, that exists right now. How do we know where to set this? We don't. We just guess at it, you know, because we've had this on and off a million times. All we're going to do is restring it now, and that's pretty basic stuff. You've seen it a million times. You know what's going on here. I'm not going to use up a whole bunch of video time because we're going to have a fair amount of setup to do. So stand by while I'll do one with you, and then I'm going to pause while we get the rest of the strings on. I checked the nut several times because these things always like to pop out. Yeah. Anyway, I checked the nut several times. It's solid. It's in there. It's not coming out. We're putting 9s on it. That's the low E. As always, same rules apply. It's going to live here. It's going to live here. You run it through, measure to the next peg, bend it. the first wrap goes above the hole, all the other wraps go below, and you should have one above and at least 1.5 to 2 below. That locks that string. It'll never ever move. Tuning stability. Stand by while I do the rest. So we're all strung up. Where are we? Now we have to find out, because remember, we were just guessing at saddle height, and we had set the truss rod before we took the guitar apart. Let's just tune it up and get us close. All right, I already feel something I don't like. I was pretty close. These are too loose. I want to tighten them up slightly. The actual tuning key. And yeah, you can give them a better feel. They're all slightly loose. I like them a little stiffer, and that's the way I like to set them. You don't want to tighten them all the way, but if they feel too loose, just give it just a little snug. And whenever you're making that adjustment, make sure that all your bushings and washers are in good condition. And this one is. Yeah, some of these were really loose. I like them to have a little feel to them. You know, I like them to have a little feel to them, and that's the screw that's at the very sticking out here. Some have, some don't. These are Grover tuners. They're good tuners, and yeah, you should be able to adjust that. Oh, that feels better already. If they're too loose, they tend not to be stable. Wow, this thing is already coming into tune. Probably ought to stretch a little bit. Standard operating procedure. All normal rules apply when you're restringing. Stretch a little bit. Don't go crazy. They're going to stretch and find their home on their own. Yeah, that's it. Oh, I wonder where we're at. Now, there's no stop bar. The V plate basically is the stop bar. I wonder, I hope we're not touching back here. Nope. We're good. By the way, even though this thing was built offshore, it's got a sticker on the back that says inspected and set up in the USA. So you take that for what it's worth. All right, intonation. Very good. Very good. So, hats off to Gibson. Oops. Oh wait. Make sure your string open is in pitch. Very good. I'm impressed. Intonation is almost dead on to the point where you do not want to go in there and mess with that. You'll be chasing your tail. It is so close. That's the distance between your saddle and your nut slot. Yeah, sharp and flat, whatever. It's dead on. Sounds good, looks good. Where is our string height? Before we get too carried away, and I want to check the neck relief, I would say we're a little low on the bass side. Yeah, treble looks good. So Yeah, at this point, I want to make sure that I like where the neck relief is before I put the truss rod cover back on. We did a lot to it. We cleaned it up and did a whole bunch of stuff. So I want to make sure that main adjustment on the truss rod is good. Capo at the first fret, hold at the body joint, and 12 thousandths at the 7th fret. Man, it is just kissing 12 thousandths. So I know I can safely adjust my string height wherever I want it. There's no rule written in stone, but where I set Gibson product, good Gibson guitars, Epiphones, anything with a tune-o-matic on it like this, 5/64 and 4/64, and this side is a little bit low. I'm going to try to pull it up slightly. Is it going to let me do it without loosening the strings? Maybe. It definitely came up because it went sharp. And you can put it wherever you want. I'm not, the string action police are not going to knock your door down in the middle of the night and take you away because you changed your string action. You put it wherever you want. The instrument will tell you if it will tolerate it. If you put it too low and it starts buzzing, don't bring it to me and go, my instrument's buzzing and you set it up. Well, if you change what I did, well, that's on you, not on me. This is where I know these instruments will live, and I know this is where they're going to play really, really well. We're dead on at 5/64. Get my head out of the way for you. And right at 4/64. This thing is going to play like butter there. Can it come up or go down? I don't know if it can go down. You could definitely bring it up. But if you make it lower than that, it's possible the instrument won't allow it. Some will. I've seen instruments come into my shop at 3/64 and 3/64, and they don't buzz at all. You get a heavy strumming hand, they might start to buzz in different places. It all depends on what the instrument will allow and how the player is, playing the instrument, basically. Yeah, we're there. We're going to get my big, fat, greasy fingerprints off of it from screwing around here. Now, I'm going to try to play this thing a little bit. Oh, I love that. It sounds beautiful. We're going to try to play it a little bit. Make sure we're still in tune, which we should be. Oh yeah, strings are stretching a little bit, but we should be good. And then the last thing we have to do is put the truss rod on, the truss rod cover. Yeah, fella. All right, let's see if I can't get this thing and make a little music. It should sound pretty good. It sounds really nice now. Let's see what it sounds like. Hopefully I have this low enough that it doesn't just come up sounding like static. Oh, by the way, that little rubber pad right there on a Flying V is so that you can rest it in your lap and it tends not to try to slide because you don't have, the typical. I like it. By the way, that little rubber pad doesn't work that great. It helps if you hold it up higher. Of course, we're getting I think we fixed our three-way switch. because no matter where we go with it, it wasn't working in the bridge position hardly at all. The last thing I want to do is check our pickup height, but everything is working correctly. It is playing well. I'm really, really happy that you know, the way this instrument came out. It could have been needed more work if the three-way switch didn't cooperate. But like I said, when I opened it up, everything looked pretty new in there. So I'm sure it was just a little bit of corrosion built up in that. If it comes back for that, I'll know instantly. I got to replace it. End of story on that. Where was I going? We're going to check our pickup height. That is always the last thing we want to do. A little close there. Actually, not too bad. A little close. I'm going to back them off slightly. Just a bit. If they're too close, you know, they can bang on the string. And, you know, the magnetic field will get disrupted if they're too close. I think I can live with that. Yep. Okay. So, we're putting the truss rod cover back on and calling this puppy done. Let's clean up the truss rod cover a little bit. Do we have any cleaner left? Is there still stickum on there? Oh, excuse me. Dropped it. Sorry. Is there still stickum on that? There better not be. Because if it's been on there that long, it doesn't like to come off. I like it. I like it a lot. Alright, yeah, of course, you know, I took all that time to clean up the headstock, and from restringing it, I got my stupid fingerprints all over it, and yeah, well, at least it doesn't look nasty like it did before. But I digress. Neat instrument, not for everybody. I have known hardcore Gibson guys, and Epiphone guys for that matter, that have loved every instrument they ever played from Gibson or Epiphone, and you put a Flying V in their hands and they just can't handle it because it's such a different animal. Sidebar, many years ago I found a real Gibson Flying V bass. I am a bass player, as most of you know, in a pawn shop. This was 30, maybe 40 years ago, and I didn't buy it. And I kick myself every day because fast forward, okay, that was 40 years ago. Fast forward 20 years, and Epiphone came out with a reissue of a Gibson Flying V bass, and I bought it. It was a piece of junk. It played like a ham sandwich. This one plays like butter. This is the real deal. Very nice little guitar. I am so happy that the customer found me and that I found him and that we can make this thing play, and now it's standing tall. Not so much when I got it, but now it is. Remember, if you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe and share. Don't be afraid to share if you dig what I'm doing. It's Blackjack with 396 Guitars.